Thanks, Diana. Good morning. I'm really looking forward to learning more about the KPI Analyzer application. You know, for those of us who are in the SAP ecosystem, we're all really interested in understanding ways that we can help clients to accelerate their SAP journeys. As you know, many customers have really complex SAP instances that have evolved over decades. So in my mind, the first step on any journey has got to be a thorough, as-is analysis to get a clear and detailed picture of each client's current SAP system, which will serve as a foundation for developing a roadmap and building a business case to move forward. And it's my understanding that that's what KPI Analyzer is all about. It's a smarter and faster way to go about doing a detailed as-is analysis. So today, if we could, I wanted to kind of cover three things. First, I had a couple questions, background questions about what it takes to run KPI Analyzer and the methodology that you use to do the analysis. Secondly, it would be great if I could see a quick demo of the application to see how it works and the output that's generated. And then finally, I wanted to talk a little bit about different use cases for the application and the roundtable process that you use to present the results of the as-is analysis. So, you ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Thanks, Richard. I'm happy to show you all the things you want to see.
So Diana, just as a starting point, what data do you need to get from the client in order to do, the as-is analysis?
Well, actually, all the data we need to analyze the usage of the system is usage data. It is uncritical data for the client, and there is never a connection between our app and the production system of the client. We hand out an extract program to the client that helps him to gather the information that we require. It's part of the log files. It's some information on the document type headers and some information about which programs are registered on the system, but it's no critical information about users as such or anything about the secrets of the company.
Right, and it's my understanding that KPI Analyzer runs in the SAP cloud.
Yes, it's running on the SAP Cloud Platform. It's an app that you can access via a normal internet browser. You only need to have the access, and that's it. So again, there's no connection, no interface between the app and your SAP system as such.
Okay, great. So once you get that data, how does the system, analyze, the as-is business processes for the client?
The methodology we use, it's called KPI Scan. It starts with a mapping algorithm that maps the usage data that we receive from the client onto a business process model. And with this mapping algorithm, we can identify which business processes have been supported by this SAP system, by the users. So what have they really done without asking them, so without doing workshops or without having questionnaires. And that helps us to really get an idea on what's going on with that system, how it has been used. This process model has 5 hierarchy levels, which makes it very detailed. It starts from the enterprise areas down to transaction level, so that we had a really good picture and idea on what's going on there and how the system has been used and where there are, problems or maybe things that are really in good shape.
Yeah, going down to, level 5, is important. How did you develop that model and how do, clients take advantage of that level 5 detail?
Well, this 5-level hierarchy model has been developed by Westrex many years ago and has been improved and extended all the time in parallel the way SAP has extended their different releases. So this methodology is proven and established on the market since many years. The reason why we've decided to use 5 hierarchy levels is because we want to have really a lot of details to understand how the system has been used, how the processes have been supported, but have it in a hierarchy helps to keep it, easy, to keep it simple, to make this complexity handleable so you can work with that. And if you don't have those details, you miss information. So if you only look at the enterprise areas or at the core business processes as such, maybe the difference between two locations is in level 3 or 4. And that's important to know before you decide what to do next with your system.
Right. So for clients who are thinking about, moving to S4, right, and they're trying to compare what they're doing now to what will be supported by S4, how do you map kind of current capabilities, onto S4 to see where there's a fit and where there are discrepancies?
When we've analyzed which processes have been supported by the client system, we map the supported functionality, so transactions and report, against an electronic version of the simplification list. We always make sure that we have the latest simplification items in place so that we can support and can refer on to the actual S/4HANA release that SAP provides. And that helps us to identify impacts, kind of what-if analysis. So what if a client has a transaction ABC in use and this transaction will no longer be available in S4? So with this mapping, we see that there is an impact on this transaction. It will disappear. But with our impact analysis, which then follows, we also can say what the impacts mean for the client. So how many business processes are involved, how many locations, how many users need to be trained, things like that. So it's crucial to have this information up front to identify the efforts that you need to invest in such a project. So you can really then talk about, how many person days do you expect, how many costs are involved, how many headcounts do you need to do that, and so on.
Right. So it really kind of helps inform your change management and training strategy, as you move towards S4. Okay.
Exactly.
So could we go ahead and jump into the demo?
Yes, I'm more than happy to show that. Let me open the app real quick. As I mentioned, it is an app on the SAP Cloud Platform. I only need my internet browser to log on. So here we are. I have opened the app now. This is an example from a real system. It is a client from the consumer goods industry with enhancement package 8 in ECC 6.0. And we have analyzed different time frames. We can analyze, the usage time frame, so which transactions and reports have been used in a specific time frame. And we can also use document time frames. So document time frame means, when you have created your orders, your invoices, and so on. And there is many, many years of data available in most systems so that we can start right away to do such kind of analysis. The main focus of this app is to provide transparency on the as-is situation. So how has the system been used? And it combines KPIs and benchmarks and also cost-benefit analysis with the details behind. So we address this app to decision makers, so C-level, CIO, CFO, and so on, but also to the people that work on the project that really have to do something, that have to do the housekeeping, that have to prepare the transformation or have to define a roadmap. Also for the SIs, they can get very fast transparency on what the client is really doing without having these as-is workshops. They can completely concentrate on the strategical part, so they know what the client is doing today. They can go into strategical workshops and have them identify, what they really need to do, what options they have, and find the best way for them to go into the future.
Right.
The app has different views. We have the high-level KPIs on the KPI dashboard here. We see the maturity level, which is measured automatically with a very complex rules engine. It shows a level 1 to 5 pyramid. I will go to this, I will talk about this a bit later. We have a degree of standardization where we see the results for the client, but we also have benchmark information. 15 different industries are available in currently 1,800 different analysis. This benchmark database is growing all the time, so every new analysis will help to increase the database. And the client then immediately sees how his system is, in good shape or in bad shape compared to its industry, but also to the market. We have different views here on this system now. We have a maturity view, the productivity view, cost, performance, storage, quality, which all have to get a different perspective on the system usage. And these different ideas or the different perspectives have to answer different questions. So if you look at the maturity view, you have an idea about the maturity of your actual system. Most systems, they are a couple of years old or many years old. They are mature. They are, they have been implemented many years ago. They have gone through a lot of technical release upgrades. And now they have a status where nobody really knows, are they in good shape or in bad shape? Are they heavily customized or maybe not? And this maturity level has to answer these questions right away. And it's a basic for deciding, do we go brownfield approach or greenfield approach, maybe a template approach. It gives you all the details that you need to really find your right strategy.
Yep, makes sense. Yep.
When we talk about the productivity, that's the heart of the app. In this view, we have several different KPIs, again, that talk about, unused standard functionality, S/4HANA impacts, and so on. However, the most important part is the part where we really map the use data against this 5-level business process hierarchy, as I've mentioned in the beginning. And we can see immediately which enterprise areas are in focus in that system. And it's now easy to have drill downs by clicking into all these different enterprise areas to see immediately which business processes are in scope for this client. And of course, in scope then for your project. And these drill downs are available on all 5 levels so that you get really details and can decide, which part do you need for a strategic workshop that maybe talks about finance or one that talks about logistics and so on. And having done those kind of selections, every functionality that is still in use, it's 100 here for this example, will then automatically be mapped against the S/4HANA fit gap table, which is included in the app. And we see that we have 23 items here for that client, and we can then sort by the ones that are really heavily used. So these are the ones that are important. They need to be considered in the project to make sure to learn about the impacts. And then we have this 5-level hierarchy also available as a table where we see different information. And you easily can include the company code, so the different locations. Even the users can be shown. If you don't want to see your user IDs, you can make this anonymous already when you extract the data out of the system. So we never learn anything about the users there if you don't want to give us the user IDs. That's up to the client. And if we do that, we have the information about the different locations. So we see exactly, how the system has been used. But we also see how the system, what the system has not used. In this case, I have filtered the process accounts receivable and payable, and there's almost 3,500 different transactions and reports which have not been used by the client. Well, everybody says that, you never use everything. That's true, that's correct. However, if you look at one of our important KPIs, the deployment of standard functionality, we see the most important enterprise areas for that client. Remember, financial accounting was right at the top of the most used or most supported enterprise areas. And nevertheless, this client only uses not even 2% of what SAP provides, so of the functionality that's available. However, we can show in a different view that they have custom code program in place doing financial features.
Okay.
So there's potential for restandardization, just as an example.
Right. Hey, Diana, before you go on, this is an analysis of, ECC. As you know, a lot of clients have a variety of different SAP modules, whether it be human capital management or supply chain or whatever. Does KPI Analyzer, go beyond ECC and work with some of these other SAP applications?
Mm-hmm. We can analyze everything or every system type that is business process related. Saying that means ECC, CRM, BW, SEM, whatever, HCM, everything that is related to business processes.
Okay.
The reason why we have this possibility is because we have the reference model that we've created, and it covers these different types of systems, these different types of scenarios. It even covers the industry solutions. So if a client has an ISU system in place, or an IS automotive or fashion and retail in place, whatever, it can be used as well. We can also map the use data then against the process model, because we cover those processes as well.
Okay, great, thanks.
Okay, so when we have this kind of analysis, there's always the question regarding interfacing. And I'm just showing it on that screen real quick so that you get an idea that we see that as well. If you look at this, we have a system user in place here. And if I show some of those details, so if I go to the users, I will see that the system users, that they are always interfaces, okay? So when we talk about analysis, we always can split or have drill downs into the clients. We even can compare different systems, so compare client 1 from system 1 with client 2 from system 2, and so on. We can compare company codes or any other kind of divisions or organizational structures. We can compare users, transactions, and reports, business processes, but also we can extract system users to find out where is there an interface in place, what is it doing, so which transaction or report is it referring to. So in case that will be changing in future, you have to adapt and change this interface as well. And that's, again, some efforts that we can identify here that can be used to define the efforts for the project as such.
All right, so let me see if I understand that. So you identify all of the, kind of system users, which represent the interfaces. So as I think about moving to S4, I can figure out which of those interfaces need to be modified or adapted, for my new world.
Correct. I've just selected it here. So I have selected these system users that we see here, and I can then check where they have been used. I'm still in accounts receivable and payable, so we have some system users in place here that can be identified, and we can check which transactions they have used, but also if they do something that will be different in future. So if you compare it with the fit gap list, you also see that there is impact here. So important for the clients to know impacts by migrating to S4 means that you, of course, have different business processes in some of the areas in future, which means you need to train your people. However, you also need to check kind of automation you already have in place. So interfaces will be different. You have to adapt your custom code and maybe also your background job. So that's something that you need to do. And the app helps you to identify all these areas. It's a very complex situation that you are facing, and you would never get those information in a workshop. But this is a very structured and straightforward way to give you all these details and information, and you just need to click and find, what's important here.
Yeah, well, in my experience, getting, the interfaces right and modifying interfaces and retesting interfaces and doing regression testing, all of that sort of stuff is, a big part of the cost of migrating or upgrading or, changing your system from one instance to another.
Yeah, that's definitely the truth. I can confirm that, yeah. So it's important to know this upfront.
Okay.
Okay. I continue?
So yeah, just a quick question on the custom code. You mentioned that you identify standard, but you also identify custom. So how does that work?
Right. We have a separate view for custom code, which is called cost, because custom code is, it costs money. You have to create it on your own. You have to maintain it on your own. So we also have this view for custom code with different KPIs that help you to really get an idea what is done, what has been used in your system. So actually, this system, they have more than 75% unused custom code. It's overhead. It's not in use anymore. That's definitely something you do not need to migrate. we have a cost saving calculator included here where you see the absolute numbers of unlocked custom code, rarely used or intensively used custom code. You can calculate the savings you can achieve if you cleanse your system, if you do housekeeping, but you also need to or can calculate the efforts you have to invest. But in almost every system, when you cleanse custom code, there's an ROI very early within the first year already. When it comes to the details, they're also available, so we can say exactly, which custom code program is in place and how often has it been used. You can find out the ones that have not been used at all. You can again include with those different columns the company codes and users if you like that. You can have exports to Excel to create to-do lists or working lists. So everything related to custom code is in this view that helps you to optimize the usage of your custom code program, and for sure, if you do housekeeping, to reduce the cost for your maintenance, but more importantly for the moment also for your project to come.
Right. I think I read somewhere that you analyze like all of the background jobs that are being run, because that's part of the overhead in the system, and it's certainly a performance related detail. How does that work?
Background job is a very important part in an SAP system, especially when it comes to an S/4HANA project or an optimization project. We have a performance view that helps us to get information on the performance of custom code and standard transactions. However, we have an individual analysis for trigger and background jobs. This specific client has more than 150,000 different background jobs running in a very short time frame. And if you look at this chart, you can see that, if we see from midnight, or if you check from midnight till 11 in the evening, if those, background jobs are scheduled a way that the operational daytime is clean, or at least not heavily impacted, and the night is used for doing that, you see it's like a waste. It's not really representing that they work during the daytime, and it should be background jobs running during the night. So that's something that you could optimize. We have several filters that we allow here to really get a lot of details about these background jobs, also detailed tables that you can export and work with them. But it's very important to do this before you do an S/4HANA project, because this is kind of either automation that is important for a client, so you need to find out what you have in place and need to decide how this should work in future. However, there's also very old background jobs in place that many people have no idea what it's doing, why it's still running, and nobody is, for the moment stopped it, but it's time to stop it. So that's helpful to find out about those details as well.
Right. The people who developed those background jobs retired 5 years ago and are nowhere to be found.
And don't worry, sometimes they retired 10 years ago and it's still running. So yeah, we find those old programs very easily in the system. It's important to know that upfront. It could make your life much easier if you have those details before you are in the middle of the project, and then you find out there is a mess. So better you know it before, and you can start immediately right away doing housekeeping, and that makes your project much easier.
Well, having all these details, I know that clients, are sometimes skeptical about what it's going to take to move, to do an upgrade or to do a migration, much less a business transformation program. And so, having all of these hard facts, I think helps with that skepticism, because it's not guesswork, it's actual detailed information from your current system.
Exactly. Maybe you've seen a lot of details already. Let me just go through the rest in a couple of words, so that you see an overview. But I think maybe you get the story. We always have these KPIs with the benchmarks behind, with calculation models, with details that you can extract and work on, and so on. So we have those information also for the storage part, where we have to analyze, the database usage and the costs that are created by those storage infrastructure, but also options to optimize that. So very important also for companies if they want to optimize here, especially also when they prepare to go to S4. Also, we have the quality view with a lot of information about the document type usage. Document type is crucial because it has to identify how the processes really work. So you always can have an order to cash process, and you find it in many systems, but there's not one order to cash process. There are many of them. It really depends on what kind of sales type you create. Is it, is it an easy sale? Is it something that you need to schedule and so on? So there are a lot of different document types available that represent different or variants of processes. So it's very important to have this information. However, you also have this overhead in the system, like we have example here, sales orders. There are 116 existing document types, so sales order types available. And this client has used 17 of them in the last 2 years. So 99 have not been touched at all, which makes it easy to do a decision that maybe 99 you don't need anymore for the future. And from the 17, you have 11 customized ones. So these are the ones that, make effort. You need to check what it is, if you can re-standardize them, or if you need them in the future, maybe you can skip them. So we have those details as KPIs again, but also with those tables where you see all the information. You can extract them. You can have the list with the unused document types. So everything is available in here, and many more different KPIs like you see on the top of the screen here, which I will not go through in detail right now. But I think you maybe have the idea now of what we're doing and how this works.
Yeah, that's great. So from a demo perspective, we're all set. That was really helpful. And if I have more questions, we can do a deeper dive later. So it's my understanding that to use KPI Analyzer, it's actually an annual license. So could you explain, how a client, uses the application throughout a whole year? I mean, I get doing an upfront as is, but how else, do people use the system, across a full year of the license?
Okay, well, it's a question of the use case that a client is facing. There are different situations where clients can make use of the app and where they find support. I have a slide here with a couple of different use cases that we have experienced in the last couple of years. We have companies that really want to reduce costs. They want to make the operation of their system much easier, much cheaper. So they need to have an as-is analysis in the beginning to find out, where they have potential to save and reduce costs. But then they need to make sure that they can monitor it. So if you find areas where you can improve something and you do it, you want to see the result. So you want to measure the result. That's an idea where you can measure and analyze again. But if you then don't monitor, if you meet in a year or two, you have the same situation. You have the same mess again. So it's important to have this transparency regularly or permanently to get an idea how the system is used and so on. Also, re-standardization is a very important part because people have understood that, this is a standard software, and if you don't make use of the standard the right way, you don't have the full benefit. So that's something that should be done. Nevertheless, in the last couple of years, we had a lot of technical release upgrades, and that, came to the result that many systems are heavily customized. So there is a need for re-standardization, which makes the life much easier to handle those systems. But then we have different situations where people just want to get an idea about their maturity. That's a one-time analysis, and then you know where you are. But maybe after a while, you want to repeat that. So you want to know after a year or two, do I still keep this maturity? Have I improved something? So there are ways to do it once, but in many situations, it makes sense to repeat it, to have a monitoring, to have a continuous transparency, which helps you to make your life much easier. We have, of course, in the last couple of months, many situations where companies prepare for migrations to S4, which is a very ideal way because you have your transparency in one day. The app runs in one day, so the entire process delivers you the results in just one day. And then you can start to plan. You can start to identify the best strategy for you. Is it greenfield? Is it brownfield? Is it a mix? Is it a template approach, maybe a consolidation before, or in any situation, maybe you have a mergers and acquisition, you have a carve out or carve in. So this is a list of every different, use case that could occur, and the app supports any of those or all of those. So that's I think very helpful for people, that they have this transparency without having workshops, so they can repeat it again and again. It's just only a couple of hours to do the analysis, no matter how often they do it.
Right. And I think I read somewhere, and we both know that, some clients are running on a single instance of SAP, but a lot of them have multiple instances. And so, as they think about their journey, they need to decide, do they consolidate or whatever. How does the system help, in those circumstances, comparing multiple systems and deciding the way forward?
Well, we have a saying in Germany, do one step after the other. We do not do one step after the other. We do not do one system after the other. We can't do it in parallel. So if you have a landscape with 10 systems and you want to either analyze them all or think about consolidation, where you also need an analysis, you can analyze them all at the same day. And you have the results available at the same time. And then you can really decide where you want to go. If you plan a consolidation, the app helps to compare the systems. You can compare different systems, or you can compare clients from different systems or clients from one system with each other. You can compare company codes from different systems or from the same systems. So the app has different support, different use cases, what we call here the comparison in all the variances. Especially for companies with having several systems, it really makes sense to use that, because if you do one step after the other, so one system after the other, it took you a couple of months for the first system, a couple of months for the next system. And once you're ready to think about comparison or consolidation, the analysis is old, so the workshops or the results are old. So it never helps you to get an efficient way, or to do it in an efficient way. So that's a really good benefit of the app, where you have everything in parallel and you have the results right away at your fingertips.
Yeah, and before today, you shared with me that you organized like a roundtable kind of event or meeting, with the client to present, the results of the as-is analysis. And I was kind of struck by how unique it is to actually show the client all of the results, from the deep dive analysis before, they're actually asked to make a decision on licensing the application. So, they can kind of try it before they're asked to buy it. And I thought that was different and pretty compelling. Can you talk about the roundtable a little bit?
Yeah, right. Well, actually, it's a virtual roundtable, so people do not sit together, which is good in those days. It is a virtual roundtable. However, we run the analysis for one system of the client before. So we're doing a complete deep dive. We prepare what we call an R2A, a results to advice report, which is a summary of the results. So we put the KPIs together. We put some interpretation in that, so that it's easy for the client to understand, okay, that's my situation, that's where I am. We then add information regarding what we call the results to advice, advisory for SI. So we deliver the facts of the system usage, and it helps the SIs to really build their strategy, which is really then customer specific. It's not a roadmap that could be mapped or matched to every client. It's customer specific, because we have the facts on hand. The SIs are then in a really good shape to start preparing the roadmap for their client. And that's also part of this roundtable. The client could decide if they want to bring their SI, or we have partners that are more than happy to support here to help the clients do the right steps into the future. And very important. Oh, you have a question?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so that the as-is facts are used by you and either the SAP team or the systems integrator to develop a client-specific, results to advice report that's presented in the roundtable. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay.
That's exactly the intention here, because it's a teamwork. It's this kind of project, preparing for S4 is really a teamwork. We need to have these different parties that really everybody has their part, and it's important to bring these together.
Right.
And there is another puzzle or piece of the puzzle that we require here. It's the ROI consideration. So we need to have all of, well, when we have the facts together, for the client, it's important to have an ROI view on this project. So what does it bring to do an analysis? Or what is the benefit when I do this and this and that? And what alternatives do I have? What do they cost me? Which is the best one for me? So that's also part of this discovery roundtable, talking about ROI, which in our situation, we always invite the CFO, not only the CIO or the project leader or the process owners. We would like to have the CFO, or at least the financial decision maker, at this round table to make sure that everybody get the story and they have all the facts on hand and they talk all about the same thing.
Right, got it.
And last but not least, we always discuss in those roundtables also the options that a client has. So what else can I do with the app? Is it just for preparing, a project? Or we've talked about the use cases before. So having the as is of a specific client allows us to help them to identify which other options they have. And the involved SI and even SAP, they would then support the client with whatever project they plan or whatever strategy they are interested in, so that they get all these options and all their values.
Right. So after this roundtable, it's then really up to the systems integrator that's working with the client to propose, a set of strategic workshops to do further drill down and clarifications, and start to build, the roadmap and business case, and to, as you say here, think about how the application would be used, for different purposes throughout the year as the client moves forward on their journey.
Exactly. So everybody has its part in this story. Westrex is the independent analyst. We are responsible for the analysis, for getting the facts on the table. The SI is responsible for having the right interpretation and doing the right planning and next steps for the client. The client is important because they have a target, they have objectives that they want to achieve, and they should bring their ideas in as well. We have the ROI consideration that helps the client to make sure they get a business case for what they plan to do. And of course, we have SAP as well that really helps clients to show all the options that there are for the future. You can use, or, we have IoT in future. There is the cloud solutions, there's machine learning, and all these different options. And the client should see what kind of option is the one and only for him.
Right, I get it. So we're kind of running out of time here. Do you want to just summarize for us? You've been doing this for over a decade, as you mentioned, with 1,800 different analyses. Do you want to summarize kind of the benefits of KPI Analyzer?
Yeah, let me do that. I've prepared a slide for that just to have the highlights here. The biggest benefit is time. We can do this analysis in less than a day. You never get those facts in less than a day. And having facts makes your project much easier, much smoother, and important, it mitigates the risks. That's very important. So you can save time, you can save money, you can reduce your risks. We have experience in this. We've done this many, many years already. So this is a proven methodology. We know from our clients with good references that they can save money, that they have a really accurate budget planning that makes their decisions much, much easier. And also very important, it's not just, one solution for maybe one SAP system. It helps all the process-related systems to be handled the same way. We have those drill downs that make sure you get all the locations covered, all the users. No matter if you have 200 users on your system or 20,000, it doesn't make a difference. The analysis can be done for small and for big systems as well. And even if it's very complex, it takes not more than 3 hours to learn how to handle the app. That's the summary of the benefits.
Okay, thanks, Diana, very much. This has really been really helpful for me. I know I'm going to have more questions, when I sit down and think about this. But, one of the things that struck me is the idea that clients can, in essence, try the application, see all the outputs, see all the details before making a commitment to buying it, is pretty unique and pretty compelling. So thanks for that. And so for anybody watching this who wants more information, you can write to KPI Analyzer at westrax.com. And thanks again, Diana. This has been great, and look forward to working with you in the weeks and months ahead.
Thanks, Richard. It was a pleasure for me.